Hi guys, welcome to the lecture in the series of machine learning development lifecycle data acquisition. In this lecture, we'll be working with the data. Mainly, we'll be using Kaggle, UCI, and sklearn to get some data for our machine learning. And we'll be working with CSV files, JSON files, and SQL formats. So let's jump in. So first what I will do, I'll go back to Colab. First, it's a Google Drive which is there. And we have created a folder called MLJ Workshop. So I'll right click here, more, Google Collaboratory. Right? And it will take a bit of time. It's connect, just click on connect. It will connect to the server. It's free. You just need your Gmail account so that you can Google Drive and all sorts of stuff. Next, if you see it's untitled, I'll change it with I said working with data, and here I'm using CSV files. Okay, I'll put CSVs. Okay, what is CSV? CSV stands for comma separated values. Means it's every value is separated with commas. Let's take you got a data with the name, last name, email, and all sorts of stuff. So let's take its name is Ram, comma, my last name, comma, my email, comma, and all those things. So we are using just a comma separated. So let's work on it. So we are going to work on CSV files. To step one, we need to import pandas because yes, this is one of the most important packages which we are going to use throughout the series in machine learning. It's very powerful, by which we can use to load the different format of data and edit the data to solve our requirements. So let's run it. So I'll use Shift Enter so that it will run that cell and create a new cell. So this is what I got. So as I said that we are going to use a couple of websites like Kaggle and UCI to get some data. So what I will do is that I'll just create a text, okay, and then I'll just copy this. So also what I'll do is that copy. Okay, so in the text I put an hash for the data domains. It's like hash stands for, if you have worked on HTML and all sorts of stuff, it's hash is for h1 header file, and I'm using Kaggle, and because I want every line different line, I put a break, and UCI website and sklearn for datasets. Okay, and I'll run it. So this is what I got it. So these are the three web links which I'll be using. So let's take, if I click on Kaggle. Kaggle is one of the topmost world's service where we can get loads of data sets. So if you click on data sets, you can get loads of data. Okay, and the same way UCI is a massive archive of data. So if you see here, the list is there. There are so many data sets are there. You can go search for it and all the things. Okay, and the same way sklearn datasets. Sklearn is very powerful machine learning library with a lot of algorithms. So, but it has got also a lot of data sets. So if you click here, so you got so many data sets. But right now in this lecture, our main focus will be on Kaggle. Okay, you can use anywhere, but right now I'm going to click on Kaggle. And if you're using for the first time, you need to create your account with Kaggle. And if you remember, I told you that I asked you to create a document where you can put as like my data science web links. So you can, when you create some account, try to put your email and all the things as a document as a reference, and try to use which is dedicated to for learning. So try to create an email account which is like dedicated learning. So don't give any personal details so that if anything happens or anything, it's only stick to that email. Okay. So now let's jump on. So I'm going to use Kaggle. That's what I said. Now here, the first thing is we need to get some data. So on Kaggle, if I go here, there's a famous data called iris. So you can get this iris data. Okay. Can see iris data set. So if I click on here, you can download this data set. Okay. Click on download and it's here. Double click it. You got this iris data. So I'll just copy this one and put it somewhere else so that I can. Okay, I got this iris data. Now, if I double click this iris data, can you see it has got ID, sepal length, sepal width, and all the things. Once again, it's a very famous data. So if you go to Google and search for iris, so these are the flowers. Okay, and if you check on iris data set, so this is very famous data set which is used to identify the type of flower, whether it is setosa or versicolor or virginica, based on the petal and sepal length. Okay, you can easily identify it. So if you check on this data, this is ID, the number of flower 1, flower 2 and all things, and then the length of a sepal, sepal width, petal length and petal width, and it is saying that whether it is setosa or versicolor or virginica. So this is it. I'm not saving it because I just copied it. So let's come back here. So I got this data. So what I will do is that I downloaded the data. I need to put that data into my Google Drive. That will be good. So what I will do is that I'll just create a folder and I'll call it as datasets. Generally, I'll try to use this folder to upload all my datasets. So double click it. So it's empty now. So I'll come back here and drag and dump it. So now my dataset is here. So it's in datasets. So let's come back to our Google Colab. And once again, guys, if you want the data downloaded from UCI, once again UCI. In UCI, you don't need to create any account. You can just download the dataset. And I encourage you guys to do a lot of downloads and put it there and search it. Now the next step is we need to connect to our dataset. Okay, how to connect it is we need to mount. We need to mount this drive. If you see here, we can't mount. We can't access. It's like a sample, like a temp file is there. So the best way is that I'm just going to copy this code so that. So it's the code is that from Google Colab, google.colab import drive. We are importing the Google Drive and then we are mounting it. Okay, it's like a virtual drive and all the things. So drive.mount in quotes, it's a string / content / drive. So if I run this command, it will ask you to connect to your whichever account you are using. So I'll click on connect drive. So connect that. Allow. So it will take a couple of seconds to connect to that drive. Yes. So it's connected, but you can't see it here yet. It's a refresh problem. So I'll just close this one, relaunch it. You get it. So if you see here, if you expand this one, my drive, and MLJ workshop and datasets. So this is iris datasets. So you can just click on these 3 dots or 4 dots and copy the path. That's it. So now we copied the path. So here we need to create df equals, okay. In pandas, generally whenever using pandas, we will use as we'll work on a data frame, and generally we use df for the short form df. Okay, so pd dot, because that is a CSV file, we need to put read. Okay, can you see? If you wait for a couple of seconds, you will get this support help, and then in quotes put that command. Can you see? We have loaded that CSV file. Now we need to run this thing. So shift enter. Now our data is loaded. So if you see here, now the next thing is that we need to check it whether it's a valid data. So I can put df.head. Head is a method, okay, of pandas, and I'm running it on the data frame, and if I run it, it will print the top 5 rows. Can you see? It's printing the top 5 rows. But if I put df.tail, it will print the bottom 5 rows. And the next one is df.sample. Randomly it will choose one thing, but right now it's empty. By default it's 1, but if I run it 5, it will give 5 random samples. Is it clear, guys? So now you know that how to load, how to import the pandas and get to read the CSV file, and also we know how to check that head and the tail and the sample. Let's see the shape. Means we need to find out how many rows and columns are there in this data. So I'll put dot shape. Okay, shift enter, and shape is a property. It's not a method. Okay, so when I run it, shape df.shape, you get 150 and 6, means 150 rows and 6 columns. Is it clear, guys? So now you are able to work on it, so you can do whatever you want. So your data, you have loaded the data from Kaggle, you downloaded it, you loaded it, and it's working. So let's jump on to the next bit. So here, if we want to read it from URL, means we don't want to download it. Okay, so let's take, I'm going to copy this one. Okay, I'll just create one text and put it here, and I'll put one hash. Means we are reading a CSV file from URL. Okay, so let's take, you can read it from Kaggle. Let's take, but this time we'll try to read it through UCI. Okay, so what I did was that I downloaded the same iris data. Can you see? Okay, is it clear, guys? We are reading it from this link. So you can go back to UCI and search for iris. Can you see iris data? And if you check on here, this is data set. Okay, it's giving. Now can you see, this is what the data and all things. So I'll give you access to this one, guys. So if you see here, I'll just copy this. Can you see iris data? So I'm loading that data using a URL and then running it. If you see here, right now you got some issue. Can you see? You got 5.1 and all things, but if you see here in this one, it's got ID, sepal length, centimeter, sepal width and all things. So here, the issue what we are getting is that it has not added a header file. Okay, so how to do it, because it is using the first row as a header in this context, so we need to work on that one. So how to do it is, it's simple. So I'll just copy this command. So here we did everything, but we just added something called names. Names is generally it's for the column names. So here I use the same thing, sepal length, and because here don't see this one 0 1 2 3 4. This is, you don't need any ID. This is a default index, so you can just overlook it. So you got sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and species. Okay, if you see, this is what I used. And if I run this one, now you get the data with all this information. Can you guess? It's nearly same as what we are getting here, except we don't have ID. Generally, we could have easily skipped it, the ID here. Okay, but right now that is not the purpose. We know. So next step is that we are going to work on the same CSV files, but rather than CSV files, they are TSV files. Means, what is T stands for? Tab. Means the data is not separated with comma, but the data is separated with the tab value, tab space. So there are, if you go on to Kaggle and search for movie metadata and all things, you will find loads of data and all things. But right now, it's a massive data. It's a total TB. We don't want to work on that one. So if you on Google, if you type movies underscore titles underscore metadata, okay, TSV, okay, you should see this one, the first one. Okay, you got movie data set, but right now this guy, Himanshi Agra, yep, thank you, man, or is it girl? Sorry, whoever it is, thank you. Now here, if you see here, the data is there, and it's around. It's a small data of 617, or total 618 files. So you can click on raw, right click, save as. You can save this file, okay? And I'm just going to save it on my location. It will save as .tsv, .txt, whatever I don't know. So I can come back here in data sets. We'll drag and copy that TSV file. So we got this movie titles metadata. That's fine. So let's create a new text file. What I will do is that I'll try to, okay, I'm just going to put this comments in the text. Okay, got it, guys? So if I double click it, this is how I wrote it. Okay, I'm using a bit of basic HTML, so 2 hashes and 3 hashes for small size and all things. Okay, and so right now, so we got this one. So I'll go back here. So I'll just copy this command, but right now I don't think this is my path, so I just need to go back and remove this one, because I need to go back here, data, close it, reopen it, it's a metadata, and copy the path and put it in here. So right now my movie data is a CSV file. That's how we need to read it, and press shift enter. Now if you see here, it's giving me m/0 and all things and comedy. What the hell is this happening? Because there is something is totally wrong. So let's come back here. If I come back to this file, this is what it should happen, but can you see there's a tab space is there? And the other thing, if you see, there is no header. Can you see this? From 0, it's saying that M0, 10 things I hate about you, 1999, 6.90, 62847, and comedy and romance. So if you see here, this is the ID, this may be the title, and this is the year of release, and maybe the rating, and the oaths, total oath count, and the genre. So right now there's nothing is there, and we are getting this weird error, like weird style of data. So how to solve it? So let's come back here. It's simple. What I did was that here I'm saying that movie data, this is the, till now this is what we did, but in here we need to put separate, in quotes we need to put /t, means because it's a tab separated file, we just put /t. Is it clear? And the names, if you remember previously we used names for the headers, we are putting here headers. So I'm putting ID Okay, if you go back here onto the text, it's an ID, title, and all sorts of stuff. So I put ID, title, year, rating, odds, genre. And the other thing is that I'm using index call, means index column should be ID, means I don't want a new, once again, new row, which row column with an index. It's already there. So I want to use the, which is already there, that column I want to use it as an index. So if I run this one, is it clear guys? If I run it, oh, I got an error. So there is some issue, no such file directory, blah blah blah. Yes, that's right, because I need to copy this path. I can't use the path which I was using in different when I'm preparing the lecture. So if I run it, now if you see, it's clear. ID, title, year, rating, oaths, and genre. That's it. Good. Perfect. So how we are working with the tab? We are just putting, we are giving a separated in sep value. We are giving /t, and names we are giving it, and index column. These are the things which we learned just now. Okay, good. So let's create one more code cell. So let's take, okay, once again, let's see the shape data. Yes, it should be 617, we know. But if you go on here in Kaggle, it's a movie data set. It's 239 MB guys, and you can look into that one, metadata and all the things. It has got so much information. You can read about the data, and it has got a lot of things. It has got credits and different CSV files and all the things. Okay, that's good. So let's jump back here. So next step, just now we saw a header issue. Okay, is it clear guys? Just now we saw how we can sort out our header issue, but sometimes you will face some problems like this. Okay, right now I don't have this data with me right now. It's a mine title, it's somewhere down. You may get something called, can you see, a 0th column. It doesn't, it's gives unnamed and all things. Right now I don't have the data. I downloaded somewhere. So if you see, if you get something like this, let's say you found a data and then you inputted the data and checked. When you put a head, you see unnamed and all the things. But if you observe, 0th column is what is your header. Can you see? Not this one. This one is your header. You clearly know it. So what you could do, you could just put 0 in the same location on the path, but just put header equals 1, means the first row. Yes, it's 0 as the location, but you know that's the first row in the column, so we are using header as 1, and you can see now it has got the proper column titles. Is it clear guys? Once again, I don't have the data, sorry. I don't know where I left it. Luckily I have this project file. I opened it, I copied it here, that's why I can't run it now. Now sometimes, or else in the same file, it's so much problems with this data. One was the header. This is how we sort it out. The second one is you got two, can you see, you got 2 columns. That thing will, you can just drop it. You can drop the 0th, because we don't need it. It's all, because this is 1 2 3 4. I don't want 1 2 3. I want 0 1 2 3 as an index number, so I can drop it. And access equals 1. Access equals 1 is means the first access equals 1 means the whole column, not the, okay. In place true means make it permanent. Okay, and head, can you see, now we drop. If you have this 2 columns and if you want to drop any one, you can just put that column, okay, and delete it. Okay, we'll work on a complete pandas tutorial. I'll make it a tutorial, and so that in future, because we need to learn pandas in detail in future. Okay, let's create a new collaboratory where we'll be using JSON formats. So we'll create a new collaboratory and then we'll let it launch and connect it. And I'll call this as working with data. JSON formats. It's simple, straightforward. Now you need to save it so that it can reflect back in here. So step one, once again, you clearly know we need to connect back to pandas. That's step one. And step two, you will connect to your Google Drive because our data will be on Google Drive. So it will ask you to connect. So click on connect. Voila. Next, on Kaggle, there's a famous data. You can just come here and it's called a recipe dataset. Can you see? It's called recipe ingredients dataset. You can download it. Okay. And once you download it, you can use, there will be two formats. It will be test and train. So let's take, if I download it and open that zip, there I got so much stuff. You got test and train. So I can just copy this train because it's a bigger file compared to the other one. So, and I'll go back to somewhere so that I can paste it, and you can drag and dump it onto a data sets. Okay, I already did it. Okay, now we need to connect to that the data which is in here. Can you see? It's in my drive, MLJ workshop and data sets train JSON. Copy the path, and here I can put df equals pd dot read underscore. I'll just leave it for a few seconds so that it will start recommending me. I'll go for JSON. That's it. Copy the path. And then you can run it. Now if I put df dot head, it will print us the contents. That's it. Simple, straightforward. But the only difference between CSVs and JSON is CSV we are reading as read CSV and JSON we are reading as read JSON. Right? So next thing what we need to do is that let's see if I can get a shape. So it has got 39,774 rows and 3 columns. It's a massive data. Good. And it has got ID, cuisine and ingredients. So let's take 22213 Indian. It's water, vegetable oil and wheat salt. I don't know what is that food. I don't know. So that's how we work with JSON. The other format is SQL, which on its own it's a different topic. So I'll go through it in a other lecture, other tutorial. Okay, that's it guys. Any questions, any queries, get back to me. So in this tutorial we worked on how to on CSVs and JSONs, and we got data from Kaggle. The same thing you can get from UCI, you can get from sklearn and all sorts of stuff. Once again, if you got any questions, always leave a comment. I'll get back to you guys. Take care. Bye.